Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, DwyerVIP.com, on Roku, Dwyer Sports Betting, and Dwyer Boxing. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. I'm going to be in Las Vegas early next week. There's an NCAA final. I need to get the lay of the land. So if you see a guy who looks like me, a bald guy walking around the casino, come right up and say hi. Let's talk sports. Okay? A couple of items I want to raise before I get into an analysis of Matthysse versus Lamont Peterson. First, the boxing hardcore disagree strongly on even the biggest fights. HBO's Harold Lederman, a boxing judge. He judges fights for a living and shares those thoughts with us on HBO. Believes that the Canelo-Austin Trout fight's not close. In his words, Canelo's special. Right? He feels that Canelo might blow out Austin Trout. That the fight really comes down to a special fighter against an opponent who beat a fading Miguel Cotto, right? Lederman does say he thinks Trout has talent. He just doesn't believe that Trout has the talent to beat Saul Alvarez. I see the fight from the other side of the street. I don't believe the fight's that close. I believe that on his best day, Saul Alvarez does not have the foot speed or the upper body elusiveness to handle Austin Trout. I think Trout just moves too well. I think Trout has one of boxing's more underrated jabs. I think he's going to be sticking that jab in Canelo's face the entire fight. Understand, too, that Trout used to spar with Sergio Martinez. In my opinion, and I know this is controversial, Austin Trout has been in the ring with better than Saul Alvarez. I don't question Alvarez's punching ability. Alvarez has a puncher's chance in every fight, including this one. But I wouldn't be surprised if Austin Trout doesn't win this fight by 3, 4, or more rounds. I didn't believe the Austin Trout-Cotto fight was that close. I took underdog Trout in that fight. I'm taking the underdog in this one. I don't believe in fighters being inherently special in every fight. I actually believe that styles make fights. I don't know how Canelo gets inside on Austin Trout. I think it's going to take him many rounds to do so. I think Trout is a highly technical fighter who's entering the ring fully aware of Canelo's left hook. We'll see what happens. Okay, let's talk about another event in boxing that's major. Unbeaten fighter Michael Norgrove has died a few days after a recent fight. Right? I know there's going to be an outcry against boxing. This is a tragedy. The question I have, though, is what caused this young man's injury? He's in a fight. He knocks the opponent down. The opponent gets up. According to press reports, the opponent never hits him solidly. Right? The referee, in a fight in which Norgrove is winning, senses that something is wrong and stops the fight in about the 5th round or so. Right? Norgrove then collapses and apparently dies a few days later. I want the press to look into this because, to me, things don't add up. This looks like a fighter who entered the ring with a pre-existing injury. Let me point out, Norgrove had not fought since 2011. Why the long layoff? Right? Norgrove also is 31 only had a handful of fights, and those fights were against guys with below 500 records, at least most of them, right? So while press reports are going to say this guy was unbeaten, understand he's marginally unbeaten, right? He's not unbeaten against quality competition. Also, why the late start in the sport? Also, how can a fighter have bleeding on the brain in a fight in which the other guy doesn't hit him in any meaningful way to the head? I get the feeling that Norgrove may have been suffering from injuries that worsened in sparring, right? I know this is a delicate line, especially in talking about a fallen athlete, but we need to realize that sometimes guys have injuries before they enter the ring, right? If your brain is prone to swelling and you get hit, you might be finished. Doesn't mean the fight you were in was brutal or abnormal. It might mean that you were injured before you hopped in the ring, and those injuries worsened in the athletic contest. I challenge the press to look deeply into why this guy had such a long layoff before returning to the ring and exactly what happened in the fight. Also, kudos to the referee for having the courage to stop a fight in which a disoriented fighter was actually winning the fight and had not been hit with anything meaningful. Let's talk about Lucas Matthysse against Lamont Peterson. Sometimes bets make themselves, right? You're looking at the board, you're saying, wow, who should I take in this fight? Then they release the odds, and the odds are so crazy. The odds present such an opportunity that you understand you have to grab that value. That's how I feel about this fight. First, let me say this. I was very impressed with Lamont Peterson. Very impressed with his fight against Kendall Holt. Right? Lamont Peterson is fighting Holt. He goes outside. He's moving around the ring. He's making adjustments. And he was great from the outside. That's when the fight was a total mismatch. Right? It's when Lamont Peterson is outside, outmaneuvering Kendall Holt, who can't keep up. Now, the reason it's interesting is this is the same fighter who went inside against Amir Khan and completely smothered Amir Khan. In other words, Lamont Peterson is that rear fighter who's great outside, and he's also great inside. Right? I was watching him against the fighter I feel is underrated, Victor KO. Now, granted, KO doesn't have a chin, and that might literally end his career. Right? I'll agree with that. But KO, boxing-wise, is one of the better boxers in the division. Right? Most KO fights I see, he's outboxing his opponent. Against Lamont Peterson, Peterson held his own before getting the late KO. Here was Peterson boxing with a boxer and outboxing the boxer. I think Peterson is an underrated talent. His name's been in the news for the wrong reasons. But in the ring, let's not take him for granted. This is a guy who went the distance with Timothy Bradley, right? In a fight that was spirited. He lost the fight, but there he was hanging at the end. So I'm noticing a trend here. You have this guy fighting world-class competition, and whatever is needed in that fight, if it needs him to be inside, the guy's inside. If it needs him to be outside, the guy's outside. And the guy's proficient in both. How is Vegas making this guy a 3-1 underdog? He has the faster hands than Lucas Matthysse. In my opinion, he's the better inside fighter than Lucas Matthysse. I believe there's an open question on what happens if Lucas Matthysse gets smothered. Right? Now, I'll agree, Matthysse has never been badly hurt in the ring. Is that because most guys are running away from Lucas Matthysse? Or is that because Mathisse's chin is so good? That, too, is an open question. Right? So, the way I'm playing this is I'm taking the 3-1 underdog, Lamont Peterson, to win the fight. And I'm going to hedge it with Lucas Matthysse by knockout. Like Canelo, Lucas Matthysse always has a puncher's chance in every fight he's in. He has a huge punch. It's one of the biggest in boxing. No question about it. But is he as good on the outside as Lamont Peterson, in my opinion? No. Is he as good on the inside as Lamont Peterson, in my opinion? No. Is he as adaptive, reactive as Lamont Peterson, in my opinion? No. In my opinion, Lamont Peterson's getting dissed by the casino. I like Peterson to win, hedged against Matthysse by KO. You're able to get value out of the play. Unless the casinos make Lucas Matthysse a minus 300 to win by KO. In other words, as long as you're getting the better odds on the Peterson side of the play, this play is viable and, in my opinion, offers compelling value. Peterson's an excellent fighter. Peterson's a highly skilled fighter. If this fight goes the distance, I'm expecting Peterson to have his hand raised. Let me also say, too, that Peterson can punch. You heard me mention Victor KO, who Peterson stopped, right? Inside of the distance. Both of these men, in my opinion, have a chance to stop the other. Lucas Matthysse wouldn't be the first puncher who looks invincible, who gets hit on the chin enough times that chin dents. What I don't see is a fight like the Matthysse-Zab Judah fight, where Matthysse has a problem with the hand speed early, then starts coming back late, and the opponent is hanging on for dear life. Understand, Lamont Peterson has a skill set that Zab Judah might not have inside, right? I believe if Lamont Peterson has the upper hand in terms of the boxing that's taking place in the ring, I expect Lamont Peterson to finish the fight strongly. Let's remember who this guy's fought. I know Matthysse has fought big names. No question about it. I've praised Matthysse for fighting big names, right? Matthysse has fought, for example, Devin Alexander. But understand that Lamont Peterson, in addition to fighting Timothy Bradley, has also fought Victor Ortiz, as well as Kendall Holt, as well as Amir Khan, right? Peterson's already been in the deep end of the pool, and he knows how to swim, technique-wise, better than Lucas Matthysse. I like Peterson to win, hedged against Matthysse by KO. Let me hear from you. Leave your comments for me here online. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. Thanks for stopping by.